The time is 6 p.m. Here is the news edited by Dilini Gunavardhana, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The Premier assures that remedial measures will be taken to remove difficulties faced by elderly artists. 2,500 English teachers will be recruited to teach in the English medium. The Election Commission begins preparations for presidential polls. Cabinet nods for revised electricity sector reforms bill. Sri Lanka is to establish diplomatic relations with the Republic of Chad. Foreign news, David Cameron meets Donald Trump in Florida. Sports news, tennis, Saudi Arabia to host the WTA finals for next 3 years. Local news in detail. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that remedies will be taken to cope with the difficulties faced by the elderly artists. He made these comments while participating in the ceremony held at Temple Trees yesterday to enroll artists who have newly applied for the retirement program for aged artists that is implemented by the Tower Hall Theatre Foundation. So far, a monthly retirement allowance of 7,500 rupees has been given to 102 selected elderly artists. The Board of Trustees of the Tower Hall Theatre Foundation, which has met under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, chairman of the Tower Hall Theatre Foundation, has decided to increase the said allowance to 10,000 rupees. Accordingly, from this month onwards, the Tower Hall Theatre Foundation will provide a retirement allowance of 10,000 rupees to 122 elderly artists. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that the Cabinet has approved the recruitment of 2,500 English teachers to teach in English medium. 765 schools have been selected, covering all provinces, to teach subjects of the GCE ordinary level syllabus in English medium. The government expects to increase the number of schools to 1,000. Currently, the number of English medium teachers available in the island to teach those subjects is 4,441. The government hopes to increase the number of teachers to 6,500. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
At People's Bank, we empower your pride. People's Bank, pride of the nation.
Continuing with more local news, the Election Commission of Sri Lanka has commenced the activities related to preparing the election register for this year's starting today. As per the Election Secretariat, the activities pertaining to the preparation of electoral register will be carried out until the 10th of May. Accordingly, this allows the individuals whose name are not included in the electoral register despite being eligible to cast their votes to add their names to the relevant lists. Thus, Election Secretariat further announced that the eligible voters now have the opportunity to include their names in the electoral register from respective Gram Niladhari officers or the election officers across the island. Meanwhile, the Election Commission will be authorized to call for nominations for the presidential election on any date after the 17th of July 2024. The Cabinet has approved the revised electricity sector reforms bill. According to the government, the bill was revised to include proposals following public consultations and suggestions from experts in the relevant field. The revised bill that has been proposed to restructure Sri Lanka's power sector has received the Attorney General's clearance. Cabinet approval has been granted for the revised electricity sector reform bill to be gazetted and thereafter presented to Parliament for approval. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara announced that the revised bill will be gazetted and presented to Parliament in the last week of April. That ends local news.
You have got a transfer.
That's all right, sir. They are all our children.
The right decisions with noble intentions bring pride. At People's Bank, we empower your pride.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The Cabinet has approved the establishment of diplomatic relations with the Republic of Chad during the Cabinet meeting held on Monday. The Republic of Chad has extended cooperation to Sri Lanka in the United Nations and other multilateral forums. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka has now established diplomatic relations with 46 countries of the African continent, and the Republic of Chad has also expressed its desire to establish diplomatic relations with the island nation. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB Navy offer valuable gifts and gift vouchers, 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
The Department of Meteorology has issued a heat index advisory for the northern, north central, eastern, western, Sabaragamuwa, northwestern and southern provinces and the Matali and Monragala districts. According to the department, the heat index, which is the temperature felt on the human body, is expected to increase up to caution level in the above-mentioned areas. As per the advisory for caution level, fatigue is possible with prolonged exposure and activity, while continuing activity could result in heat cramps. That ends Watchlight.
CIB Navy offer valuable gifts and gift vouchers, 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
Coming up, World News.
Headlines first. David Cameron meets Donald Trump in Florida. March marks yet another record in global heat. World News in detail. Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron has met former President Donald Trump in Florida before heading on to Washington, D.C. for talks. The UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office said that Lord Cameron is expected to speak to US Secretary of State Antony Blinken about support for Ukraine and bringing stability to the Middle East during his visit to the US. The European Union's Climate Change Monitoring Service said the world just experienced its warmest March in record, capping a 10-month streak in which every month set a new temperature record. In a monthly bulletin, the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service said that each of the last 10 months ranked as the world's hottest on record, compared with the corresponding month in previous years. It was further added that the 12 months ending with March also ranked as the planet's hottest ever recorded 12-month period. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. David Cameron meets Donald Trump in Florida. March marks yet another record in global heat. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. Data from the central bank show that Sri Lanka's worker remittance through official channels grew 0.72% to $572.4 million from $468.3 million. Remittances were up from 476.2 million rupees in February 2024. Monetary stability was restored in the last quarter of 2022, improving the credibility of the exchange rate. Monthly remittances have been above $475 million from May 2023. That came to you on Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
Saudi Arabia will host the WTA finals for the next 3 years and offer record prize money of $15.25 million. The event, featuring the top 8 single players and doubles teams of the year, will be highest profile tennis tournament held in the country. The WTA came close to staging the 2023 finals in Saudi before going to Cancun in Mexico. This year's finals will take place from the 2nd to the 9th of November in Riyadh. That ends the sports news.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Cargill's Bank released its annual report for 2023, reporting a robust growth in profit before tax driven by a 30% increase in total assets during the year. The bank posted a profit before tax of 730 million rupees for the year versus 206 million rupees in the corresponding period. That ends Business News. Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, Presidential Director General Community Affairs Mr. Rajit Kirthirenakon said that nearly 200 billion rupees has been paid in 2023 alone to provide relief to the people affected by the economic crisis. He mentioned this while making a special statement to the media yesterday. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the western, Sabragama, southern and northwestern provinces after 2 p.m. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, central and Sabragama provinces and in Kol and Mathura districts during the morning. That ends weather report. To wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The Premier assures that remedial measures will be taken to remove difficulties faced by the elderly artists. 2,500 English teachers will be recruited to teach in English medium. The Election Commission begins preparations for presidential polls. Cabinet nods for revised electricity sector reforms bill. Sri Lanka is to establish diplomatic relations with the Republic of Chad. Foreign news, David Cameron meets Donald Trump in Florida. Sports news, tennis, Saudi Arabia to host the WTA finals for next 3 years. With that, we wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka. Back to my good friend and viewers, Ramesh Peris.
Thank you, Victor. And that was Victor Raj with the main news bulletin. And may I take this opportunity to wish you a pleasant evening and have a safe journey back home. You're tuned to Radio Sri Lanka on 97.4 and 97.6 FM island-wide and worldwide on www.slbc.lk. Coming up next at precisely 6:15, iftar at sunset, and there is a program in view of Ramadan.